Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Michael, and I'm exploring all the different ways that stationery can bring me joy. Today is a really fun video because it is kind of a mid-year check-in on how my journals are going, how my notebooks are going, and kind of giving you a peek at how I've been using them since I started in January till now. I did kind of do a quick overview of the different notebooks in my system a little over a month ago, and I can link that here, so you can go and check that out. Since I started in January, I didn't really get to do a techokaigi for 2025, and that was kind of my retroactive techo to kind of explain how I'm using the different notebooks. But here is an update on how that is going. I didn't go super in depth on some of the notebooks in that original video, and so I will be able to kind of walk us through some more of them in depth here. So I have my two piles of notebooks and journals, my daily use notebooks here on the left, and my occasional use here on the right. So I thought we would start here with the daily use. So I'm just gonna tuck these accessory notebooks aside for the time being as we jump into the notebooks I use on the daily. And so in looking at the first daily use notebook is my Hobonichi Weeks. Now, I didn't show this cover last time. This is the Tragen cover in the Oakmoss or moss green, something along those lines. I will put the correct title in the description and maybe correct myself here. This is a great cover. It is really useful because as my everyday carry, it allows me to also have a lot of the things that I need. So it's a trifold that opens up like so. What is great is that this is a kind of little pencil case built in, and in here I have just some of the things that I use on the daily, cream colored correction tape, an eraser, the Tombow Mono Zero, kind of push it out like a pencil. This really adorable Penco pen. I got this at a stationery shop in Amsterdam a few years ago. And this was before I really went all in on my stationery hobby, but I just thought this was so cute. I have a highlighter in case I need it. The Uniball 1 in the 0.7, and a pencil, a mechanical pencil, the Otho sharp pencil. Otto, excuse me. I really love these. They're my go-to sharpened pencil. Because while I love a good Ticonderoga, we know that the open lead kind of messes up the inside of the pouch. I have some Post-it notes in case I need them, and one of my Coffee Monster Co. rulers. So that is what's in the pouch. I have here decorating charms on the zipper that are apparently really difficult to organize. There we go. I have a constant Coffee Monster Co. Fountain pen, emoji head, and this is from Yoseka, a tiny fountain pen charm. And that's what hangs there. And so when we get into this notebook, I have some decoration, some different business cards and things that are important. I have a Happy Mail notebook. This is one of the Hobonichi Weeks insert or like supplemental notebooks you can buy. They come in a 3-pack. And I have in here, I won't really flip through it, but addresses of people that I need to send Happy Mail to. Sometimes when I sign up to receive a postcard, or some Happy Mail of stickers and ephemera, the person on the Google form will also say like, oh, you can send me something in return. And I write down their addresses here to remind myself to do that and kind of have a check system in there as well. And so that lives here. So I have it easy access. And then this is my Hobonichi Weeks. I keep my Energel Clenna in the 0.5 millimeter here on the pen loop. And I thought I would just highlight some of the things that I do in this notebook. So here in this year at a glance, This is my reading tracker for the year. I put how many pages I read on a day. There is a color coding using my mild liners from 0 to 25, 25 to 50, 26 to 50, 51 to 75, 76 to 100, and 100 plus. One thing I have realized this year is that perhaps 0 should just not be a color or its own color, because it kind of does take a lot of time to highlight all of these 0 areas. But I basically keep track of how many pages I read that day, color code it, and write the amount. And then I'm doing monthly averages. So January through June, I've done this pretty religiously. So far, January was still my best month, although June was pretty good catching up to it. Now that school is off and I'm just at work and I have summer hours, perhaps July I'll be able to do a lot of reading and kind of blow January out of the water. So that's my hope. Anyways, fingers crossed. My monthlies are pretty basic. I have holidays, events, people's birthdays, things that are going on. I kind of put them all in here. Doctor's appointments, things of that nature. I have the Coffee Monster Co. Hobonichi Weeks decoration pack or kit that I've put in here. And yeah, I think I really love Helen's art style, and I think it really works in here. I don't know if I would buy kits next year, knowing more that I would want to maybe change the vibe of each month. But for the product, it is really well made. The measurements are great, and it does, give a cohesion to the months here in my weeks. When I started my Hobonichi Weeks, I was pretty much kind of started it with this kind of system. I would highlight or color over with my Tombow the days of the week, and I created a little column for the weather, highs and lows, and then my appointments and things. And then I have a highlight of every day here in this side, as well as my habit tracking and stuff to do. And the general use of this space has stayed the same pretty much, but there's just like small adjustments that I've made in the setup over time. And so, for example, you can see here, I have the days of the week and my checks really, really tightly put together here with all of the things I'm tracking. Have I taken my pills? Did I drink enough water? Did I get to bed by 11? Did I read? Did I journal? Did I do some kind of hobby activity that day? And as I moved forward in the year, I kind of spread this out a little bit more using some dot highlighters to kind of like give it more breathing space. I kept the highlight of the day. I've kept the appointments. Something that I also kept is just having like the big kind of like events of the day as well, and the weather. Over time, I kind of realized that the weather wasn't really serving me because, it's not like I was looking at my notebook to check the weather. And so I kind of took the title off of the habits because I realized I knew what that was without giving it a title every week. And then I tried to use the column that was the weather before as kind of like a place to put the, bullet points for my to-dos on the daily events. And that kind of worked for a little bit, but I just found this column to be clunky. I also stopped highlighting with the Tombows the days of the week, the dates, so I don't have to rewrite them. And it's kind of morphed into this, where I have my habit tracker. I still have the stuff to do. I still have the highlight of the day, but then I've moved my important appointments over into the column where I can then also write big events. So it's like the moving up ceremony is happening, and I'm also getting a haircut that day, kind of is one thing. And then I have daily to-dos, and then this stuff to do here is more like general, I need to get this done this week at some point, and then things that are like very specific to each day I'm putting here. And I think that this is the setup that's really like working really well for me. Like big events, appointments, daily to-dos, highlight of the day, have my habit tracker, bigger stuff that needs to get done in here as well. And that's kind of like the metamorphosis of how I've been using the week's spread. in the note section in the back, I kind of had this set up as a reading journal. This was before I had my official reading notebook. And so I was writing down the books that I read, books I'd like to read, memorable quotes from books that I read this year are going into this space. And then I was printing out with my Canon Ivy the cover of the books and writing a little review for each book. But as I shifted into having my reading notebook, I realized this was kind of becoming redundant. So I'm moving forward with just putting the title of the books, the covers printed out with my rating. And then that way I can have a place where I've collected all of the books that I've read in this year. My reading notebook is a 365 Stalogy, so there's lots of space, and I have a feeling it's going to span more than just 1 year. But in the back of my weeks, I can keep track of, these are all the books that I've read this year. And so I think that's what I'll keep doing moving forward. And then very similarly, I had kind of set up a section for movies that I've watched this year, movies that I want to watch, and then I was printing out the movie posters and writing a review as well. And I think, I kind of fell behind in this because I did start a media journal for films, just like my reading notebook. I think what I'll do is I'll backfill these 3, and then like my reading, where I'm just going to put the covers, I'll put the posters moving forward. So I know in this calendar year, these are all the books and movies that I saw and read, and my media journal and my book journal will keep my thoughts and feelings on those films over the span of the journal or notebook, and this will just be for this year. Something else that I've done in my weeks is I have used the My 100 to kind of create a seasonal bucket list. And this is like very aspirational. It's not like, oh, I didn't do any of these, so I have failed miserably. I'm just trying to do as many of them as I can. So this started in the middle of winter, obviously. So there's some that I didn't get done that in the little sliver of winter I'll have at the end of this year, maybe I can complete. The spring has gone through and I crossed off all the ones that I did in the spring. Although I did learn a recipe. I did make a new spring salad that my friend sent me. So boom, I get to cross that off. And I didn't do some of these, and next year I'll just add them to my spring 100 and then make up new ones to replace the ones that I did get to do. And I have summer now that I'm in, and I have all of the things that I need to try and do here. And I might go to a museum tomorrow, so maybe I'll get that one taken care of. And then autumn, I have those coming up. So this has been really fun. I keep a photo of this on my phone in case, I do carry this around with me all of the time, but maybe on the weekend if I'm just heading out and I decide not to bring it with me, I do have it in case I'm out and about and I realize, oh, I could do something right now off my bucket list. I have it there for waiting for me as well. And yeah, just back here, nothing really special tucked away back here. But yeah, this is my Hobonichi weeks and how it's been going. I have really loved using this. I see myself continuing through the end of the year, and probably into next year, unless something drastic changes. So really excited that this is working out so well. So next in my everyday use notebook collection, I have my my journal that I write in every day. This is in the herringbone cover from Hobonichi, and attached to that cover I have some charms. This charm is from Pottering Cat. It's just two little cats that say notebook. Is that what it's called? Pottering Cat? Yes, correct. And on the back it has like a pen and a pencil. And then this is a Strand book cart that I've attached here as well. as my two little charms to kind of hang off. I've been uploading flip-throughs of these. I have one for May and one for June. I can link June's up at the top as the most recent one, but I thought I would just kind of walk through how I've been using this and how it's been going. I made a goal this year to journal every day, and so far I have kept up with it. Huzzah! Hooray for me. In here I just have some stickers. I have some cards with extra washi. Even though I have I've only taken this journal out of my house once, when I went to a planner meetup to write outside of my home. It is nice to have those there. I have here a sticker of the lovers of Toad and Frog. My husband and I dressed up as Toad and Frog, was it last year for Halloween or the year before? And so I have that and some strawberries here as well, just because I think it's really pretty and it reminds me of the episode in season 1 of The Last of Us. If you know the reference, you know how sad and heartwarming that is. I have this Hobonichi stencil that was given to me by one of my new planning pals that I met up with. And it is really, really amazing and really cool, and I love the way that this little bear peeks out. But yeah, when I started, one of the things that I wanted to use my monthlies for was to print a photo for every day and kind of stick it in. I had my Canon Ivy, and I was putting all of these photos in, and I did it all the way through March, and then I dropped off. It is really hard to remember to sit down and print all of those out and then stick them in. And I think I do want to go back and backfill, but the other problem I'm having is because my planner has gotten, or my journal has gotten so chunky with all of the stickers and ephemera and things, it actually has caused the photos here to kind of start curling when they're closer to the spine. And some of them are kind of sticking together. And I don't know how much I love that. And so I don't know, I might backfill because there is the completionist in me that wants to make sure that, I started that this year and that I finish it. But I'm not loving how these are warping as time is going on. Something to kind of reflect on in here is that, when I started this journal, I kind of set up myself a system. I had these journaling prompts at the beginning of the month. I write the prompt at the top. I answer the prompt in the left-hand column. I journal about the day in the right-hand column. And that kind of became my go-to system. Recently, I have really tried to kind of break free of that. And so you can see in June, I have not been responding to the prompts at all and just kind of writing about my day or what I want and layering stickers and ephemera and different washies and things and kind of creating a more free form system, and even getting a little bit more creative. We had a heat wave recently and doing some drawing or some creative expression of my emotions in my journal. And so I'm really excited about the new turn that I've taken in really figuring out what journaling looks like for me. I can sometimes tend to get a little rigid and self-impose some rules on myself, and I like that I'm breaking free. And I mean, what better place to do so than in my personal journal? And then I think in the back of this this is not the Avec, this Hobonichi original Techo original A6. I do have a Who Packed My Order from the Coffee Monster Co. It's just kind of a silly thing that I'm enjoying tracking. When you order something from the Coffee Monsters Co., it has a packed by sticker. They show up in my journal a lot. Here, this was packed by Cynthia. And then I come here and I give them a tally or add them if it's someone new. And it's just kind of a silly way to kind of keep track of that for the year. And then also any happy mail that I receive that has an interesting stamp, I've been trying to meticulously peel that stamp off and stick it back here. And so I think that's the only things that I'm doing in this one. I don't have a My 100, I'm not using this graph paper, although something that I did see Helen of the Coffee Monsters Co. do in this graph paper is weigh her journal at the beginning of the year and then every month weigh it and see how many ounces keep getting added, which I think is kind of hilarious, and maybe next year it'll be something I'll do. Yeah, back here I have kind of like the nameplate on a gift that one of the people who I met up with at my stationery planning session had on like this little package of ephemera and stickers and things that they had collected for me. And even though I spilled some fountain pen ink on it, I needed to preserve that. Some photos from my wedding, and then just like some PET tape and things back here. But yeah, that is the daily journal. I've been really sticking to the commitment, and I'm really excited that I'm doing so. And I'm excited to see what the second half of the year brings, and hopefully I will not burst out of this cover. It is starting to really get chunky. Another daily journal that I can just give a quick mention is, this is my health journal. It's very simple. It's a Muji undated planner. And I'm just going to show you the setup for next week, only because it kind of just has personal information about my health in the other pages. But what I do is I kind of set up on this weekly page each day of the week. I write down my breakfast, lunch, and dinner. My doctor is asking me to track that information. And then there are just certain notes that I'm also taking in here as well about some other, like medical data and things that we're taking a look at as well. As someone who's avoided the doctor for, other reasons and other times in my life, I'm really excited to be seeing someone regularly and to be, kind of following through on the recommendations that she has. And so this is one of the things that she asked me to track. And what a lovely excuse to get another notebook. You didn't have to tell me twice. And so that's here. And then last but not least, and I did a whole video kind of walking through how I've been doing in this journal, and I'll link that here as well. But this is my Hobonichi Techo cousin Avec, and this is my work planner. And again, I've already kind of walked through the setup for that and how I'm using it, but I've started setting myself up in my monthlies and my weeklies for work, and then even in the dailies, starting to get the washi and the to-do lists in for my work this summer, and then eventually for the school year. And eventually I will need to decorate this cover. I'm sure I will include that in a video somewhere, and kind of walk through maybe more of the setup for this as much as I can, since some of that information is private. But yeah, this brings an end to my daily use notebooks. And I've been really loving the system, and I'm excited to continue moving forward. And I also have a really exciting idea for a cover for this notebook. And I think in my next video update, I'll show how my plan for taking a bunch of elements and kind of creating my own Frankenstein cover for my work planner. Since the zipper planner cover that I had from Hobonichi just feels a little too bulky. So I'm excited for you to eventually join me in on that one. And that leads us to the accessory journals. This is my Dungeons and Dragons Traveler's Notebook. It is in the passport size, the black notebook. I have here my sword and my D20 charm on here. I did a whole video explaining the setup. I bought this and set it up here on the channel, and I'll link that as well. There's so many links in this techokaigi. But I just thought that I'm not going to walk through this because it's pretty much exactly how I left it off in that video that I did earlier. But I did want to update in the fact that I have backlogged all of the sessions from my previous notebook into this one. So I have all of the information written and ready to go for our next session. And so, yeah, that is my Passport Dungeons & Dragons notebook. It is really exciting to have a place to keep all of that information, and really cool to get to, role play in style with my very Dungeons & Dragons appropriate leather bound book. I also have my aforementioned media journal. I have been really, really loving kind of tracking all of the different things that I've been watching. I do have some catching up to do. I saw Sinners, and I think I recorded a video kind of walking through that. I did a journal with me, and then I watched The Lobster, finished The Last of Us Season 2, although I need to go in and draw the poster for that. But that is where I've left off in collecting my thoughts. The one thing that I am doing that I think future me will appreciate is I am putting in order the things that I see. So we rewatched Minority Report. We finished Andor Season 2. I watched the film In the Bedroom for my movie club. 28 Days Later. Mission Impossible 3. We're kind of doing a rewatch since the new film has come out. I'm kind of building up to it. The Rainmaker, which was also for my movie club. Ex Machina. I watched on a flight recently. I've already seen this film, but it was a rewatch, as well as Everything Everywhere All at Once. So I need to go back, draw these posters, and put my thoughts in. But these were all pretty recent, and so I don't think that I am going to have a problem, since some of these are very recent. Some of them these are rewatches for half of them, so definitely have that information in my mind. But yeah, that is my media journal. Similarly, I have my reading notebook, and this one I have kept pretty current in. It's pretty simple, just a Midori stamp, and then I put the title and the author, when I start, when I finish the book, and as I'm reading, I'm just taking notes. If the book is really, really engrossing, I may not actually get to write as I'm reading, because I just power through some parts before even thinking about to write things down. But yeah, just my thoughts, any interesting facts, or if I have to research something because I don't know a word, or if I don't know a concept or a historical thing, I write that in here as well. I tend to do all of my writing in this notebook with my Pilot Prera pen. Hopefully that's the way you pronounce it, Prera. And I have this inked with a Shikiori ink. I do not remember the name of that ink right now off the top of my head. Oh, wait. Spoiler to my update in my ink notebook, but I believe I have the name of the ink in here. Yes, it's the Sailor Shikiori Nioi Sumair, which I'm sure butchering, but I have that inked in this pen, and I've been using that consistently. It's kind of like my reading notebook pen, and I kind of like having a pen that just goes with this notebook. However, I don't know if you can tell, but the pen was working fine, but recently, whenever I have been writing on the back of where I've put the stamp, the ink is really like bleeding more, or feathering in some cases. And it's really interesting because that's not the way that it was before, but it's reacting to the ink in the stamp differently than it was. And so I might have to rethink this. I originally started in this notebook writing just with Energel, my Klena. And then I switched when I bought this pen, and then I kind of made it the pen for this, but I might have to rethink it with the way that it's reacting to this stamp. Recently finished Remarkably Bright Creatures by Shelley Van Pelt, amazing book. Before that, I was reading Big Swiss, and then Once There Were Wolves. And I'm now reading for my book club, Giovanni's Room, in the month of July. So I'm excited to jump into that. But yeah, that is my reading notebook. Been consistent in using it. Love the way that it's decorated. And again, as I mentioned, I can see, at the pace that I'm going, many years in this one notebook. So I think the weeks having the covers of just the books I read that year is a great use of documenting that and not kind of double dipping. But that is my reading notebook. This brings us into my ink notebook. And some inks that I've added recently into this notebook are my Pilot Hiroshizoku Kirisame, and, lovely ink, as well as the Sailor Inks Afternoon Tea. I got Tag Kyono Oto number 3, Kokairo. It's this lovely green. This was gifted to me, as well as this Diamine Shimmer Purple Pizzazz. Also lovely. Something that I decided to do in my notebook is to kind of create some sections. So I have this for the ink bottles that I have, my full page swatch. And then I've created a section for my pens. So every pen that I own, and this will be a log of what ink that pen was inked with. So you can see, like, for example, this TWSBI Eco Tea in the saffron colorway has switched from a Robert Oster ink to the Sailor ink. And I really like the idea that I'm going to have this log of each of my pens and all of the different inks that they have been inked with over time in here. And it was really fun drawing all of these pens, even though they may not be the best drawings for some of them and not super to scale. It's cool to kind of have a little log of that. And very soon I need to add a new pen here. Spoiler alert, I've been hinting at this in some of my videos, but in my next video I'll be showing a pen that was gifted to me, and how I cleaned it out, inked it up, all that fun stuff, and I'll be adding it into here. But also in this notebook, I created a area for ink samples, and I had my June Pride samples where I did rainbow order, and I had some inks that had really beautiful shading or sheen or shimmer, and some of my first shimmer inks were put into this, and I can link that up above as well. And that is my ink journal. And I've been really active in here, so I'm excited to continue to explore ink. That brings me to my next accessory notebook, my Traveler's Notebook. This is the Traveler's Notebook in the olive color. I have the Yaseka Stationery Shop charm, and then on the spine here I have a New York City, the old subway token charm, and a pencil. Because this notebook right now is kind of like my New York adventures and my stationery adventures, like my travels through New York City, my travels through the world of stationery in a notebook. Recently, Helena of Tiny Tiger Collective kind of showed off how she used the Passport Love and Trip Red notebook for her stationery. And then I was realizing, the red would be nice to have. Like, these are things that I love, my stationery and things I love about the city, and using this one more for actual travel outside of America or the state. And so maybe if I can snag and get my hands on the Love and Trip cover, the red, I might switch these onto that and then use this one just for travel. My thought was, I can just switch out the inserts when I go travel, but then, I don't know, the red and the idea of the love makes a lot of sense, and then I don't have to do so much work every time I go somewhere. But in here, I have the Yaseka Stationery insert, and that is the stationery notebook that I have, and I'll just do a quick flip through of the spreads that I've created of different hauls or events that I've been to, or inks that I received, or I went to the Kaveco DIY build your own pen event, and then I also purchased the Kaveco student pen at the same time. I took a day trip to Cold Spring, New York, and visited some of the stationery stores there. This is when I got my first Superior Labor product, as well as all of these fun stamps. Again, some ink swatching. I decided to make this page fun by flicking some fountain pen ink onto the page. And thankfully, because I had bought Aerofil paper, I had taped or glued in a whole rectangle of the Aerofil paper to write on, which ended up being really great because this definitely bled through. So in the places where you can see that there wasn't paper, so good note for me, super concentrated fountain pen ink will bleed through. Who would have thought? Anyone with common sense would have. But then I have the ink swatches, and I just put them on these little pieces of paper and then kind of tip them in, and I think that's kind of fun. I'm excited that I made that kind of interesting. Compared to just stamping it directly in, I think it adds a little element. My Coffee Monster Co. Q2 subscription came in, and I cut up the decorative envelope that was provided and put a sample of or swatch of each washi. And yeah, recently went to Chelsea Market and bought some washi tapes, as well as some sticker sheets and postcards, kind of wrote about that. And I'm excited to continue to add things in here. Different events and things coming up. Maybe I have another stationery haul coming up. Spoiler. And I am very excited because I got a spot at the Tono and Limbs ink event at Yoseka that's happening this summer. They have a ink lab, and so you can bring in a swatch or a photo or something, and they will replicate that color into a fountain pen ink. Really excited to journal about that and document it. I'm still trying to figure out exactly what I want to bring to have turned into an ink, but I'm very, very excited. And then past the kind of craft paper insert, I have my New York City, travel journal, all of the interesting and fun things in New York that I do. And I can just do a quick flip through. A lot of these are just fun cafes or places that I visit. Sunday in Brooklyn, I had their pancake. Oh my God, best brunch of my life. If you're ever in New York, you need to go there. Different little spots that I visit and, with friends and have events. My trip to Cold Spring is in here. I need to backfill Muji Cafe that I went and visited. And then I always just leave myself a little post-it note of different things that I've done, and the ephemera for those things gets kind of tucked away in here. And so that is my travel notebook for stationery and for New York. The thing I love, or notebook. And yeah, I've been pretty consistent in here. I do have a little bit of backfilling to do, but this is a notebook that I throw in my bag, and when I'm gonna go read and then maybe do some journaling in a cafe, I'll bring this to do these kind of travel spreads. And then I have my Commonplace notebook, and I have to say I have not been in here a lot. So my last kind of things that I commonplaced in here, in my Commonplace notebook, I have my table of, or my kind of key. Nonfiction print is yellow. Any literature that I read or want to quote is in pink. Nonfiction video in this blue. Then short form social media, so any TikTok or things of that nature, in this teal. And then TV shows and film in purple. the last couple of things that I did were a quote from a book that I read, and then I really loved this poem. I do love poetry. I read poems, just for fun. And then, occupational hazard, being an English teacher. And so I wrote this poem in and kind of just, I had read it recently and it had some words that I didn't quite know. So I put the definitions in. And then I was reading Once There Were Wolves, and it talked about mirror touch synesthesia. And I needed to know if that was real and learn more about it. And so I went through and took some notes on mirror touch synesthesia and what it is and how it functions. But yeah, that's pretty much it so far in my Commonplace notebook. I do need to pop this out more. I mean, there's definitely times where I'm definitely on my phone just reading or researching some information. And I always tell myself, oh, I should write that down. And then I think, oh, but where am I going to write it down? And the answer is, Michael, in your Commonplace notebook. So need to more of a commitment to getting that knowledge down on paper. And then last, and certainly least, at least in this sense, is my bullet journal in my Leuchtturm hardcover. I have completely dropped off using this notebook. It is just no longer something that I look at. And I think the reason being that when I first started in this notebook, I was really writing a lot of interesting things down, like, oh, I'm going to be traveling. What do I need to do? I have this fun quote. Oh, my sticky club. I'm going to join that. Fountain pens that I own. This poem I really enjoy. This movie, let me write my thoughts about it. And then as time has gone on, I have basically parsed myself into notebooks that serve a purpose for each of these things. So I no longer bullet journal about them, because if I want to write about my stationery, I'm going to go to my stationery notebook. If I want to write about the movie I just saw, I write about it in my media journal. If I want to write about the book or an interesting quote, I put it in my weeks, or I write about it in my reading notebook. So it's kind of unclear what is the purpose now of my bullet journal. I know bullet journaling, people put their to-do lists and things, but I have a personal planner and I have a work planner. So it's starting to become unclear what the need for this is. I do love this notebook and I love all the stickers that I put on it. And so I just maybe need to rethink about what kinds of things could be logged in a bullet journal. Is it a bullet journal anymore? Maybe it's just a notebook for something else, a journal for something else. Maybe Happy Mail. I do receive a lot of Happy Mail. I kind of currently put it all in a photo album. They're mostly postcards. I do think it would bulk up a notebook to stick them in. I don't know. This would be a great thing for you to, in the comments, if you have a plethora of niche notebooks, what do you use your bullet journal for? And if not a bullet journal, what's a notebook maybe you think I'm not thinking about that I could use this for? And if not, it'll just maybe have to retire until I find a purpose for it, especially because I committed and I stuck all these stickers, which is such a hard thing to do. So this will be used for something at some point. But yes, please, in the comments, let me know what you think or what other notebooks that you have uses for. And that brings us to the end of the updates for all of my notebooks. I am pretty excited that for the most part, I'd say 90%, I am using these all in the ways that I intended to use them. And I'm in them frequently enough where it feels like they are adding purpose to my life and they are useful. It seems really overwhelming. This is a really large pile, but they kind of all have a time and place when they come out, and it's been working really well for me. This is always in my bag, and if I have any personal things I need to write down, they go here. I'm writing in this every night before I go to bed, as well as this. I update my meals before I dip into my journal, and this is at work, open at work, just for me to use at work. And then all of these notebooks just come out when they're needed. Oh, watched a movie? Let me put it in my media log. Got a new ink? Let me do some swatching. It seems like it would be kind of a daunting task, but so far it is not. How are you using your notebooks? Have you used them all in the way that you intended? Have you fallen out of some, fallen into some new ones, I would love to know in the comments. Nothing brings me more joy, or I guess first the joy of stationery, but nothing brings me more joy other than that than to talk about the stationery notebooks, journals, and how people are using them. So please let me know in the comments, and I would love to hear about it. Until next time, I hope that you have a great rest of your day, whether it's the morning, the afternoon, whether it's the evening, however much of your day you have left. I hope it is wonderful, and I hope that you continue to enjoy exploring the endless possibilities of a blank page. I'll see you then. Goodbye.